Hi, welcome everyone. So let's start at the beginning. Let me get Ren on. Welcome, welcome. I do wish the beginnings could be smoother, but we always get to it. So I'm just waiting for Ren to join us. So tonight, the intention was to do what we were supposed to be doing. Oh, there he is. Add. Hold on, he's coming on. There we go. Hi, Ren.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you. So we are connected. We have proper connection. So I'm just going to share this to my personal page so we can get some more viewers on here. So just give me a second. I hate these technical parts of the beginning, but in order to get the information out, we got to share it, right? So let me just share this out so that we can get started. So tonight we're going to finish what we started the last time, or what we attempted to start, where our topic was what do men want, what do women want? Then we have a pretty interesting exchange on my page. So Ren, what shall we tackle this evening? What are you thinking?
I think we can do both. If time allows, we'll see how we can tie them both in. I'm just
Okay.
trying to see how I can see the notifications of what people are actually saying.
Okay. I think if you put your laptop to Erica Elita, like to my business page, you should be able to see any messages pop up under there. It should work.
While I'm on the phone,
Oh, do you have a separate? Because if you have a separate device, I think it will work. But if anybody knows, if anybody's done a shared live and they know how the other person can see the comments, sometimes if you swipe right or left, you'll see them. And hold on, what does this do? Yes, guys, I'm experimenting with y'all on the screen. Nope, that
okay,
makes me leave a comment.
I see it now.
You see it? Okay, awesome. Okay, so we're going to tackle both. So last week, we attempted to do a live, and unfortunately, our connection wasn't clear. So what I did is I improvised, and I end up having to do it on my own. And our topic was, what do men want? What do women want? And I will not do mine again. I'm going to let Ren have his turn. But last week I said, in my opinion, yes, this is a generalization. Let me give the disclaimer. It is a generalization. We know everybody's individuals, but we are talking in general terms. So what I said is, I think that women are looking for security and men are looking for respect. I broke down the different types of security, or how they would manifest. And with men, I think that the respect that they desire is from obviously their family, their immediate family, which would be their wife, their children, but also their peers, the people around them. I believe that men want to be respected and women want to have security. And yes, different people want different things, but like I said, we're talking in general terms. So Ren, what is your take on that?
Wow. So there's a lot there. So let me try and break it down. And I wish more people was on, because what's going to happen is after I say it, a lot of people are going to come on. So the first thing is that there are no absolutes. So whatever discussions we're going to have tonight, it would mean that um, somewhere in the 90% of people, in the 90s, it may be 90, it may be 95, 97% of people would be based on what we're actually saying. There are the anomalies. So having said that, ultimately, what women actually want is to be desired. Um, that is that's the crowning of women's hypergamy.
Okay.
So um, and based on that, women are highly insecure. In fact, based on what the second post that we looked at tonight, women are insecure. Men got their insecurities through women, right? Men are generally not Their minds don't work on a basis of insecurity. Women are. So that's why women generally will not approach a man. It's not based on culture. The culture came about based on that deeper mindset of and characteristics of woman or womanhood. So when a woman has to approach a man, there are very few women that is able to approach men, and still those women who are able to approach men will not approach some men. And this is because that there is a hierarchy, both on males and females. And so a woman's hierarchy is based on how she looks from a sexy or sexual standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
It's not based on her accomplishment in the world, how successful she is. That matters as well, but it's not simply because a woman who is working at the lowest job can find or can get the interest of a man who is the president of the United States. So men aren't too concerned as well in the flip side of how what women are actually doing, how successful they are. However, the number one thing women use as a prerequisite for choosing a mate would be either his status or his potential. Men would use attractiveness. Now, the thing is, a woman has the upper hand, as I said, I think some time ago we did a video. Women has the upper hand between the ages of 18 and let's say 30. The women who are able to pass 30, 35, who are able to really be able to command men still would be women who are unique. In other words, they do keep themselves, their physical in order. But what men get after a particular age now is no longer sexual vibration, but more sort of a regalness coming out from the woman. So she's now worth more now and even more unique as they get older. The problem with that though is because how women are working now and how much they work, cortisol and high testosterone and low or lower than normal, what's up, Kevin? Lower than normal estrogen levels cause them to gain weight. All right? And would get some lifestyle diseases as well, because if your hormones are off, based on what we are eating now and the fact that they're working and then there's traffic, all those things affect women negatively. So having said all of that, to sort of lay the foundation of both genders, women ultimately, from a relationship vantage point, want an investment from a man, and a man wants compliance. However, from an intimacy or intimate standpoint, women want compliance and men want investment. Right, so I like how your eyes just move. It means that you're thinking. So let me explain. Okay. If a guy meets a girl, and this is what guys don't get. If a guy meets a girl and he doesn't offer to buy a drink for her, it's going to be more intriguing to her than if he does buy a drink for her. But it's also going to be rude to her when he doesn't offer to buy a drink for her. So, in other words, she wants his investment, but she rather he gets her to comply without the investment. It makes him more sexy to her.
Hmm. Okay. Hold on.
Okay, let me give another example. Same type of situation, but different things. I said this the last time as well. If a girl goes, because a guys normally offer to buy drinks, right?
Right.
So if a girl goes to a event or a house line, and there are 12 guys and 11 guys are trying to get at her, the 12th guy who is not taking her on is what is interesting her.
Right. Okay.
So you see, if you take that same concept and you apply it to the drinks, you'll understand that guys every day will tell a woman that you look beautiful and you look sexy, nice, or whatever. It doesn't do anything to a woman. You're a woman, you could tell me if I'm wrong. It really doesn't do much.
It
Because,
does nothing.
right, so women hear that all the time. Now, if a guy says, excuse me, what is your name? You're unique, and I don't mean any disrespect, but I'd just like to know your name. That how organic that conversation is, how brave he is, how respectful he is, and the interest he's actually showing in actually wanting to know something unique and most valuable to her is what is going to engage him and keep her engaged to him, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I said women want a man's investment, but she ultimately really wants him not to get her, not to give it. In other words, if he can be man enough that he can be successful without giving her his investment, because she's so into him, because a man's confidence and testosterone ultimately is what attracts a woman to him.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Few men have the ability to control how a woman feel about him. In other words, few men have the confidence, the look, the success, intellectual capacity, the works that is going to balance him off to be able to be attractive to any woman he really is engaged to or is talking to. Now, excuse, a man wants a woman to comply. So basically what a guy would want when he now meets a girl is he would want ultimately to have sex with her. So he wants to find the shortest distance between meeting her and having sex with her.
Right.
Without giving his investment.
Mm-hmm.
So he tries to give the least amount of investment. Now look at this. If a guy is given too much of an investment, it's a turn off for women. He becomes a yes man, he becomes too easy, so women like a challenge at the same time. So if a guy sees a girl and she gives him choosing signals and he takes too long to approach her, he lost. Because she starts, because women's hypergamy states this: women date across and up. Men generally date across and down. All right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why a man who is a prime minister, president, something extraordinary, would hardly try to find a woman who is, well, there's nothing really higher. So let's look at a CEO.
Okay.
He generally would not marry another CEO unless they got married young and they grew into their portfolios. He would marry maybe a housewife or something, but he generally wouldn't seek out another GM that is a female. He can even marry someone who's not working at all. See? Women, on the other hand, when a woman ends a relationship, she tries to find someone that is equal or better. Because women always approach a situation where they think that a guy wants to have sex with them or wants to date them. I have encountered situations where women have said something to the effect of, let me at least like you first before we decide to go out or something like that. And I had to ask them, but who said I was interested in going with you though? So I had to put her back in a place, because women generally think that as a guy is approaching them, that this is what he wants. He wants something. And quite frankly, just as much as most men aren't worth the salt, most women aren't either. But what happens, men tend to see a woman that is attractive and think that that's her value. And that's another whole discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So men value women based on how she looks. And that's why there's so much problems in relationships now. Because when a man gets to realize that the excessive makeup is because she's insecure, she has a number of insecurities, her daddy wasn't there, all these things. When all the makeup, and I'm not talking about the one that she applies on her face alone, when everything comes off and he sees her for who she truly is, he's no longer attracted. Now, if you haven't understood what I said with regards to the relationship vantage point of both aspects yet, you can let me know. Otherwise, I want to go to the sexual aspect.
Okay, so
Intimacy.
wait, I have stuff that I want to say. So, if you saw my post for this live, one of the things I gave was a disclaimer about Ren, and that if you were thin-skinned, you will probably not enjoy this live. Now, what you would notice is while he was speaking, I tend to jot down notes when people are speaking, especially if the topic is important or serious, or if we may not be agreeing on it, because I want to listen to what they're saying, but I also want to keep track of the things I have questions about. So one of the interesting things about Ren is that what I find is when I'm listening to him, you notice I make a lot of faces, right? I'm very expressive. And so you'll see when the confusion comes, and when you see when I'm like, what are you talking about, bruh? You see, yes, Robert, it is Crown Royal. You'll see when I'm questioning it. But what I do is I hear him out. And very interestingly, so many things that he just said, I've observed in different ways. I may have perceived in different ways when I saw them, not completely understanding what I saw. And I'd have to say that most of them I completely agree with. Now, one of the things with this whole male and female conversation, and that's why I'm so glad that I found Rand, I really believe that the stars aligned, and that's why I saw him online one day, is that men and women have a really hard time speaking to each other now. There's this communication barrier, and words are being used that trigger people and shut them down. So Ren said compliance, and I know that a lot of people were like, oof, that wow. But if you listen to the message and you really think about what it is you want from your partner on both sides, is compliance. Look up the word. I'm big on looking up words. I never stop looking them up, even when I use them all the time. And we do want the other person to listen to us and do what we want. I mean, that's what we want. Now, you said a few interesting things here, especially about the 12th guy. And, you know, I have a friend, I was talking to another male, and they were asking about that bad boy attraction, right? Are women truly attracted to that bad boy? And the 12th guy you were talking about in that party with the 11 that were paying attention, is not so much he's a bad guy, but that's the person that's not pitching. So you're curious and you're like, well, what are you about? Because you're not interested in me. So let's go over there and see. So we tend to direct our attention to where attention isn't being paid to us in general. This is something that I noticed. Another thing that you said that I found really interesting was that the compliance investment thing gets reversed when it comes to sexuality, right? That's what you said? Yes? Okay. And that's what
Yeah.
you're getting to now. Attractiveness versus success. That I would also, now I think because things are shifting, because our society is shifting, you're seeing more and more of that. But that's absolutely true. A man who's a president or a CEO or has a really great job, no one looks at him funny if his girlfriend finished college, she has maybe a bachelor's or certificate, nice lady. Really what people expect in society is that she'll be very attractive. The more successful he is the more attractive they expect her to be. It's not necessarily a match of success. Now, regardless of what a woman looks like, once she's reached a certain level of success, there's this expectation that, again, she will find a man that's doing at least as well or better than her. And I think this is what has caused a lot of shifts in relationships, because women are achieving more and more, higher and higher educations, and that kind of puts this gap, especially in being able to find a mate. And the thing that you said about the mindset, it's an attractiveness. You know, for all the women on this live that love makeup, I love makeup too. Don't wear it all the time, but I love it. I love what it does. But when he's talking about taking off the makeup, it's all of the airs, all of the things, your red bottoms, your car, your status. It's, you know, people talk about standing naked in front of each other, and it's not so much about removing the clothing, but it's taking off all the airs and just being who you are. And a lot of people are insecure in that. And like you said, I think that where you said that women, it's attraction, it's based on attraction, and we're insecure and about approaching men, and that's something we might have to do it for a different live. But in speaking of women approaching men, and I hear conflicting views. Like some people say, okay, well, you know, in this day and age, if you want to find somebody, you got to go out there, get them, get online, approach men, and so forth. Now, for me personally, Erica, I don't approach men. I don't go up to men and talk to them. To be quite frank, I don't feel that it's my job. I figure that if a man is truly interested in me, he will come and speak to me, or he'll try to catch my eye or get me to give some signal that it's okay to come my way. I think that shift in going to get a man, or to I feel that it's going to set the whole relationship off on the wrong foot. It's going to give us the wrong tone. Because if I had to come and get you, this is how I'm looking at it. You can tell me what you think about this. If I had to come and get you, what else am I going to have to initiate? What else am I going to have to do? What else am I going to have to start up? What else am I going to have to take the lead on? Because I approached you. So for me personally, it's not something that I do. And as I was speaking to you earlier, it's not something that's done very much to me, but I do know that it's actually a bit of a protection. So what do you think of that, of women, you know, going and getting their men? Because, you know, today men are in short supply. So are women supposed to be out there talking to men, going up to them and saying, hey, what's up? What's your name? You want to go out?
Well, two things. Men aren't in short supply. Actually, the world is actually very balanced between women and men. But let me give it to answer your question. Let me answer it this way. I remember once we went to a club, and that night I decided to spend. And so I was there with my boys, and we were buying bottles of Johnny Walker. And there was this girl who liked me, and I'm standing in the middle of the club, so everyone is seeing me because I think that I'm the best man in the club. So so I'm in the club in the middle by the counter, and I'm just buying bottles no matter what it is. And after my second bottle, my goal was if we needed to buy 5 or 6, 10 bottles out of bottles that night.
Mm-hmm.
And after my second bottle, the third bottle, the bartender told me it was paid for already. So I said, who paid for the bottle of Johnny Walker? And he pointed the girl at me, and she was looking at me, and she raised her glass and chairs from across the bar, on the other side of the bar. So right there, you see there's a difference between approaching a guy and pursuing a guy.
Okay.
So she stood her ground. I now must walk over and say something.
Okay.
And that is what women tend to not fully understand. And again, it's because, listen, women are seriously insecure. Seriously insecure. And many of them would actually hear me say it and would not agree. Find a brother who is today would find attractive tomorrow, and you go with your friend, your girlfriend, and say, go and approach him and see what happens there and then. Simply because women has never had the mindset or thought to actually really go and do it, is why they never felt what they felt inside. And that is why I'm against women who shut down men, because there's a thing inside of a woman called what we call the female assassin. That's what guys call them on YouTube. What that female does is she tries to find almost any reason why she can just slit his throat. So if they go on a date, if he's late, if he doesn't pull a chair, she's billing points. And by the time the date is not even halfway through, she knows long time if she's going to be back on another date. So she's looking for anything that he does wrong, not what he's actually doing right. And she very familiar observed that he's just nervous and he really likes me. They don't think it out like that most times. They think the opposite way because of woman hypergamy again, because if I don't go on this date tonight, I can go on I could have had 3 more other options. I'm your only option you had tonight that might be the best you had. And that's because she's going with that mindset. It's why she's able to do that. True?
True. Question for you. Well, actually, Swansea has the question for you, and she said, balanced with straight men. So you say that the world is balanced, maybe like the whole 7 billion plus, but especially in the United States, I won't speak as much to Canada because I'm honestly not sure of the stats, but they say between the incarceration, the homosexuality, all of that, the amount of eligible Black males for marriage is just disproportionate. That's what I've heard, read, seen, and you say no?
No, I'm agreeing with that. It's true. But what again, women don't take into account is how many bisexual females there are. There are huge amounts of bisexual females.
Mm-hmm.
So when you pull out straight, we're talking here from a straight vantage point.
Mm-hmm.
The women who are bisexual almost makes up the guys who are incarcerated. It's really a lot. Like 1 in every 3 women or so find a girl sexy and would have sex with a girl.
Okay.
You know, 1 in 3 to 5.
Okay, so Swansea, that's your answer. And I know you're quick on the draw, so you can do some research, get back to us. Okay, so before you go into the sexuality part, there's something else. Now, please go watch Ren and I's first video. We have conversations. You'll see us bantering back and forth online. And in Ren's first video with me, he spoke a lot about testosterone and estrogen.
I'm seeing Kevin saying that it's reported, so I guess he would have seen it somewhere as well.
Okay, you've seen it? Thank you, Kev. So Ren talks a lot about chemicals and, you know, your testosterone raises and it raises his this and it lowers her that. It watches the first video. Trust me, he drops the words a lot. And I was thinking about it. Again, I listen, I think. And there's certain actions that I can say I watch men do. And I never thought about it as my estrogen or my testosterone, but I know I like it. Okay, I know I like it. There's certain gestures a man will make, he'll do that I like and I find attractive. And I think, And I think that, I mean, Ren gets very technical with certain things. I just break it down to that simple attraction, that draw. One of the things that I realized years ago that I found really this movement a man would do that I just found so enticing. And I actually felt bad at it at about the time because I was brainwashed. You see, I was brainwashed by the culture that I grew up in, that women should really be equal, should be the same, come in, you know, dollar for dollar, don't look for nobody to take care of you. Oh my goodness. And it really, like, especially my hometown where I grew up, you see this all the time and it's the hottest mess. But anyway, what I realized is when I went out with the man and he would, you know, make that motion of pushing his hand in his front pocket and his face didn't change. You wouldn't see any kind of, there was no emotional reaction to paying for what needed to be paid. It was just kind of like par for the course, you know? He would put his hand in his pocket and you wouldn't see him grimace or look up. It's just like it was part of it. And I realized I found that so attractive. I found that so appealing. And it was his attitude while doing it. And when I broke it down to myself, because of course this whole conversation is happening in my brain, I realized that that really truly was what appealed to me, is that he would cover it without looking upset or shortchanged, or it was just par for the course. So just like Ren, when he's going to go into the whole sexuality talk now, just like Ren will, you know, talk about, you know, it raises his testosterone. That was the first conversation about bringing a man a plate and, you know, what it does for the woman, what it does for the man. But maybe think of it in those terms as you listen to him speak. The things, the actions that you find attractive in the opposite sex. and keep that in mind, that the little things women do, or the little things that men do that you find attractive. What are there? And when you think about that, now put it into context with what Ren's about to say. So Ren, now you're telling me when it comes to sexuality, women want compliance and men want investment. Am I right? Am I
Yeah.
confused? Okay.
So before sex, right? Women want foreplay. You never hear a man ask, right? So you never hear a man ask for foreplay. Some foreplay for a woman would be touch. Sometimes it would be stimulation. Sometimes it would be a conversation. And so that is where she now wants his compliance, right?
Yes.
Now, for him to feel motivated, now that's the key word. For him to feel motivated to do that, his testosterone level has to be somewhere. And what has to happen is he needs to feel accepted, because let me step back a bit and let me see if I can say this so that it can be understood properly. Women ultimately want respect, protection, and care, affection. Those four things women ultimately want.
Come again, say it again. Respect.
Respect, care, protection. Respect, care, protection, and affection. So
Okay.
when women get those four things, and if you see women, if you ask women what they want, one of the key words that women say they want most times is respect. I'm tired seeing it. Now, women ultimately don't want respect, even though they're saying that's what they want, because these four components make up something. So when they're asked to explain what they actually want, that's what comes to mind. Those four components actually is what makes a woman feel loved. Right?
Okay.
Now, I have not seen, and I'm sure there are some guys would write that down if they ask what they want from a woman, but I have never seen a man write he wants respect.
Oh, no?
Right? I have never seen it saying I want women to respect me. I've never seen a man write that as a response when I ask a question. And I'm sure that some would. So the point is, in my pool, it may be possible, but it's not what they actually would list firstly. Because what men actually really want is to feel accepted and to feel appreciated and valued.
That's what I said.
Yeah. And that's why I smiled when you said that there's a link. There is. Because when men actually get that to him is submission, which means respect. Because a woman who is not submitting to a man as a leader, the head of a home, can't give him those things. So when he feels that she's submitting, then he feels that he's respected because he's seen her. So men don't really care about the term submission. What they care about is how she makes him feel, which is motivated to do stuff. And once a man, listen, once a man knows that's how he feels and that's how she views him, nothing gets a man wanting to do and act and do stuff more than when he knows his partner needs him. So it gets him excited. It's like we talk about it with the wallet. When a man knows that she can pay for herself, but he can't pay for her, and she wants him to take that step, he feels valued. So when a man is motivated, then there's a hormone called vasopressin, which is activated in him, and it's the peer bonding hormone for men with regards to their partner. So it's like taking out the garbage. Women's biggest problem, number one problem women have with men is take out the garbage. And they would continue to tell him that. And every time they tell him to take out the garbage, they're causing him not to want to. And when he doesn't take out the garbage right away, she's upset. And there is nothing that says that he must take it out right away. Why should he? Because you say take out the garbage, he must get up right away and do it. You tell him take out the garbage. That's it. But women have a tendency not only to want him to take out the garbage, but he must do it now. Now that's two things that you're doing there that's attacking him. And what happens at that point is he is being depolarized, your testosterone is rising, his estrogen is rising, your attraction for him is falling because his testosterone is lowering and your testosterone is rising. So the polarity between both parties are fading away. And now vasopressin cannot activate because his testosterone levels are dropping. You see? And so what happens? Those little things. Now, if she came to him and says, and this is the point where women tend to feel like they're pampering a man's ego, but they don't understand that it's not pampering a man's ego. It's making sure that he knows that you need him to do it. All right? So if she says, babe, I really appreciate when you take out the garbage, it means that you care that I like the house clean. That's it. That's it. She never has to ask him to take out the garbage again. Because he just heard from her that it makes her feel a particular way and it gives him value. So he writes that down in his mind, story ends, he's going to do it. Now, if she comes and says, could you take out the garbage? It also rejects, he rejects that. Because all he heard from his boys growing up, I said this before, is, I bet you can't, I bet you can't, I bet you can't. You could do that, you could do that. So it's not his fault, it's wired in his brain to feel that as a challenge. So that could you comes across as a challenge. You can't. So if she says, would you, it means that he now feels that he can do it when he feels to do it. So will you do this for me, please? Now, women tend to feel that when they're doing this, is again, as I said, it's about pampering a man's ego.
Mm-hmm.
But a woman cannot get her release from stress and allow her estrogen levels to rise again if the man's testosterone level is not high. He will never be able to allow you to purge because he doesn't want to do anything for you. When a woman gets a man to feel motivated and he goes in his cave, his testosterone rises because all he needs to do is shut up. If a man is quiet, his testosterone is going to rise. Just say nothing. And when many times women see a man aren't saying anything and his face is serious and they think that he's upset. But he's in his cave. Sometimes he's doing it in front of her. He's in his cave. She needs to leave him. And he's going to come out of that cave like a bat out of hell and he's going to want to do stuff. He's going to come like a cat purring to her and be like, hi babes, what you doing, etc., etc. Same man. So if she makes him feel motivated, he then would activate vasopressin and there will be pair bonding. She in turn now would want to release by telling him about her day and issues that she's having. Now he is supposed to stay quiet and not interrupt. That's another issue women have. Women, they say, can you just listen? You don't listen. It's because his mind is designed to solve problems. Now, if she knows this about a man's mind, she would not be agitated. So this is where gender intelligence comes in. So if she just would say, babe, he would stay quiet because she knows, but she doesn't know that he thinks that way as well. So all he's trying to do is remove her stress. But he, on the other hand, now doesn't know that to release her stress is by him just saying, listen, tell me more. Really? And at the end of it, giving her a hug, because hugging activates now oxytocin, which is like the crowning of the body pair bonding period. A little 5-6 seconds hug. You see? So so the point is a woman getting a man to be motivated because his mind is like a filing cabinet and hers is like a computer. She needs to understand that she needs to get him to go into that cave, especially when he comes home. Do not tell him anything, except maybe good evening, babe. that starts to get him activated because he hears value and submission already in those words. Now,
Okay.
when he goes into his cave now, he comes out now wanting to purge her. So she almost goes into like a cave already there. Again.
Okay. So some interesting things that you said there, and I'm going to speak from my own experience. Okay. So for the ladies out there that are like, where did Erica get this crazy man from? Hear me out. Hear me out. Because what I've done is I've taken a lot of the things that Ren has said to me or brought up. And like I said, I mean, it often
Erica,
starts. Yeah.
could you just take a pin? I want to show, and you could write this down and deal with this as well.
Okay.
I'm seeing a comment here that says, already you know whether you have a woman who likes to keep her house clean. Now, that comment came from a woman, and I'm looking at the image now, and I'm seeing yes, it's a woman. And I know that because a man does not think like that. You can't think like a woman when you're dealing with men.
You hear
A
that,
man's
Swansea? Are
mind.
you following him? Like, to me, and Swansea, please keep typing, but that makes sense because it's projection, right? I think the way I think, so I tend to think other people think like me, but they don't.
He doesn't think like that. He knows your house must need to be clean, but again, his mind is a filing cabinet. Yours is a computer. So when he's taking off his shoes, he's not thinking about the house needing to be clean. He's just thinking about taking off his shoes because he wants to purge and go in his cave. You see?
Right.
Now, what women don't get is, if she understands the importance of going in his cave, then it will be nothing for her to take up the shoes and carry it where it needs to be, because she understands there's something more important happening here. He needs to go in his cave because he needs to get his testosterone back up. And when she takes the shoes in the room, when she is in a good mood, not when she's in a bad mood, because when she's in a bad mood, she will say things the wrong way. When she's in a good mood, tell him, I appreciate when you take the shoes and put it in the right place for me. Again, what that does, he puts it in the back of his mind and he realizes that's important to her. So he's not going to take off his shoes in the same position again.
Right.
And then
Okay.
there's another
Go ahead.
comment I just saw. Another comment I just saw that says, happy wife, happy life. And I said to someone last week, that's the most destructive comment that has ever been made in the world, because a woman can never be happy if her husband is not happy. I don't care what women feel. She can't be happy if her husband isn't happy. He will make her life miserable and she's going to fall out of love with him. But if her husband is happy, then she will be happy, because a woman needs love and caring from a man. That's her motivation. That's her drive. That's her core. But a man's core and motivation is not a woman. And women need to understand that. A man's core and motivation is his purpose in life.
Okay, hold on, Ren, stop for a second. You're killing me. Okay, Robert, that's your kinfolk, okay? That's your countrymen. So you laugh all you want. Kevin, what is not true? You're going to have to start typing faster so that we know what is not true, and I will. So men that cleaners are from which planet? They're a rarity, and they usually live alone, or there's different, like Ren said at the beginning of the video, Swansea, is that, you know, this is a generalization and people fall in different categories. Like my cousin and I were just talking about her brother and the fact that her brother is the one who decorates. Like the way the house look is his thing, and his woman does all of the cooking. Everybody divides up their house how they see fit, but this is kind of like a generalization. We kind of want to look at the idea of it as opposed to nitpicking at the examples. And something I want to say, Ren, about what you had said about needs, and then I'm going to go into undeserving. So that being needed, that was one of my biggest pet peeves all through my 20s, my 30s. Like, what do you mean you need me to need you? I don't need you. And I'm not going to act like I need you because I'm okay. I want you. And you should be happy that I want you and I don't need you. Because I would think, this is what I thought, is that a man won't want a woman who's a burden, right? You want somebody that can like carry her own and carry her weight and do her thing. So that idea of me needing somebody was really not, it just could not compute in my brain. Now, things that I brought up recently on social media is that I wasn't raised with my father. So again, that protective barrier goes up. And then I'm a single mom. So the protective barrier goes up. So now I don't want to be in the position of needing anyone. This is the psychology here. I mean, it was so bad that I cried when I needed glasses because I didn't want to need glasses. Like, just the idea of needing bothered me because I did not want to be needy. But coming to understand more, and again, with my interaction with men and so forth, and one of the things that I found, and ladies out there who tell me if this has ever been your experience, I've said before, and I will say it again, and I'll keep saying it. I don't like when people say, oh, you a strong woman, you a strong woman, because it almost feels like an invitation to dump more on me. That's how I've always felt. Like, as soon as someone perceives me as strong, it's like, well, she can handle it, give it to her. So me going into relationships, starting to talk to men and trying to show them how capable that I am. I could do this. I'm able. And instead of getting the reaction I felt I would get was like, oh, girl, you are able. You're awesome. Da, da, da. Instead, it was like, okay, handle it. Here, take that. You're good. You could do it. So do it then. And it was so discouraging, so disheartening. And now I'm realizing how much men need to be needed. Now, Ren and I are going to go into this next part, but I'm going to start it because, you know, I like to talk. That whole, a lot of the things that the other sex desires, we don't want to give because we've been giving it to the undeserving. You see that whole thing where you act like a wife? Never act like a wife. Be a wife or don't. You're his girlfriend, be his girlfriend. When you're his wife, be his wife. If you get everything without doing anything, that's kind of where you're going to be stuck. And if you look at the episode that I had on what's the deal with single mamas, you'll see that, you know, that is a part of it. It's giving up everything before you have anything. And no, marriage is not a fail-safe. Marriage will not prevent everything from going wrong. But again, the commitment, the security, right, that we were talking about before. So in giving too much to someone who has not earned it, to a man that does not strike you personally, whatever your definition of manly is, it skews it for the next time. And now you feel this is not something that you should do. But as I said, what I'm coming to understand and what I'm starting to get is that there's so many things that I thought were old-fashioned or outdated that are coming to be true. And what's very interesting in the post that I made earlier, where I said a wise man once told me, I am the head of my household and my wife is the neck, and the neck turns the head. Immediately an African man popped on and he said, and the neck holds the head in place. And another African woman popped on and she said, yeah, that's what my grandma told me. So a lot of I feel that what's the word I'm looking for? The wisdom and the information coming through the more secure channels, if for want of a better way to put it. So that need to be needed. It seems that it's been that way from since we were who we are. A woman's need to feel secure, I think, has always been there, because as the people who give birth, who take care of the children, we want secure environments. That is the most important thing. Once a man said to me, it wasn't a man, actually several people, my mother too, she said, you like money too much. And I said, no, I actually have no particular love of money. I like what money gets you. I like the things that money affords you. And if we lived in a society where coconuts were the things that did it, I would want the most coconuts. Or you want the man with the most coconuts, because that's going to get you the most security. So I think that idea of needing a man, and a lot of the traditional things that Ren is speaking about. Even if you don't agree, I'm here because I want you to truly consider what we are saying and look at it and apply it to experiences that you've had before and see where it makes sense. So Ren, we were talking about ego earlier. Remember we had that I had a thread about that head neck, and I was saying that honestly, one of the things that I'm going to be honest, and I hope that my future husband's not on here because he's not going to appreciate this, but I always thought it so silly how much ego stroking meant to men. It just seems so frivolous. Like, really? You're going to feel all puffed up and good because I said, good job, honey, or wow, that was great. Like, really? And you know what? Yeah, really. It really matters to them. And so then that brings me to my next part. Why are so many of us adamant to not do it? What I'm noticing is as a culture nowadays where people don't want to do what the other person wants them to do. What is that about? Why is it that we seem to not want to satisfy the other person? I hear people say things like, oh,
Not people,
well,
women.
pardon me?
Not people. Why women don't do it? Not people.
Well, I hear it a lot from women, but also too, Ren, men. Like I've heard men say things like, "Oh, so what? She wants me to bring her flowers. I'm not getting her no flowers. Oh, so what? He wants me to what? Stand in front of the stove and what? Make dinner? I'm not making no dinner." And these weird statements like that. And what I don't understand personally is if something is completely against your nature, you have some kind of moral stance against it, this was declared early in, and that's not what you do, that's one thing. But if you know something will please your partner and it is of no consequence, you don't care either way, why would you not want to do that? And that is something that confuses me. Another thing that I'm seeing with the sexes is a this cherry picking of traditional values and then a modern relationship. So what you're seeing a lot is I hear women say, well, yeah, I want the door open, I want him to take me out, I want him to pay for shit, but don't be asking me to make dinner all the time. So you have things in your head that you consider to be manly, and that's a way to act like a man. But if he even says to you, well, there's things that I expect a woman to do, dukes are up. What do you mean things that a woman has to do? Men who say, you know what, I want her to be feminine, I want her to be demure, I want her to be compliant, but you know that the cable bill is $47 and I will need your $23.50. So there are things that you want to be traditional, and then there are things you want to be modern. And then, like most cherry pickers of things, they pick the best things for them. So I think that we have to really look at, and I'm speaking to women now, we have to look at why it's okay to define certain things as manly duties and things that men should do. But then when, men indicate there's things that they feel are womanly duties and things that women should do, we get our backs up. Because you can't expect to have doors opened and roses given and, jackets over puddles, but then you're a super modern woman and don't you tell me nothing. So I think we have to be very careful of the lines that we draw when we draw them. That's my point, Ren. You go.
There's a lot there. I hope it's not Johnny Walker you're drinking there because it might be.
No, this is Crown Royal Peach. It's a limited edition. I'm drinking as much as I can, as fast as I can.
All right. So in the old days, what we had was role-mate relationships.
Say again?
And in the old days, what we had was role-play relationships.
Okay. Role-play relationships. What does that
or
mean?
Role-mate. And now what we have today is soulmate relationships. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So long time, both the woman and the man would have gotten their value based on her ability to have children and her being able to manage the home, etc., and being that nurturer. and a man would have gotten his sense of value based on being able to provide.
Okay, yes, true. I agree.
Um, I would just include that there's to say that the marriages that actually have such of a system still operating, the divorce rate is only about 14%,
Mm-hmm.
opposed to the soulmate relationship, which is about 52, 53%. And the other thing is that outside of that dynamics of the soulmate and the role mate relationships of the value for those relationships not being, the divorce rate being low, what happens now is in the soulmate relationships, it's about 53%. And people tend to not understand that women in today's world actually need much more than women actually needed back then. And what I was trying to remember just now and I forgot is that couples, especially women, and to step further, especially
I'm
Black
sorry
women.
to interrupt you, Ren. I just want to say hi to Mr. Breedlove. Thank you for joining us. I would love your input, Mark, because he is a very proudly married man with like a lot of children, Mark, and a lovely wife. And he, from what I see, he seems to subscribe to much more traditional values. So that's what we're talking about tonight, Mark, is our roles, our gender roles, and so forth. So I'm glad you could join us. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, so the households that actually have role mate, which is the old school type of relationships, the divorce rate is much lower, and
Yes, I read
the
that.
health, the wife's health, or the couple's health is actually better. So it's just about maybe about 5% of women actually would have lifestyle diseases like, let's say, cancer, breast cancer, fibroids, these things, opposed to like 87% in the soulmate relationships, where almost every woman in a soulmate relationships or in a modern relationships would have some kind of complication when they hit the age of between 40 and 45. Some kind of complication of one or the other. So it's because the soulmate relationships, women actually need more, but think that they need less. So, like for instance, between the change in the two relationships, all a man still wants is to feel valued. So now women now would have 2 cars, 2 refrigerators in a house, a whole house. And so the man tries to find out what is there for me. And then one of the things women love to say or do if there's a fallout is, this is my house, get out, or sleep downstairs and those kind of things. I haven't heard again a man tell a woman sleep on the couch. I've never heard that. But you see who does it more, at least. So my point is, all a man still wants is to feel valued. Men are dying and almost pleading and begging, and their only main desire when it comes to their partner is to serve them. And women are doing everything probably possible that I see to ensure that men don't serve them and then complain that men aren't serving them. So they're depolarizing men and demotivating men and demasculating men. And so they're stripping men down to their bone and then saying that men aren't able to lead.
I agree with that.
Women on the other hand needs much more, because now she's working, she has to encounter traffic, she has to go into a job where 97% or 92% is based on a man's structure of management. Only few companies, like let's say IKEA and these companies, would have changed their core on how relationships are in organizations. She's coming home back in traffic again, and then we have to look at the four levels of a female cycle that she goes through every 28 days. And so we see how much a woman now has to deal with in today's world. And women tend to think that they take care of men, when in truth and in fact, no matter the level or how a relationship is, a man has to deal with 4 different personalities every month from his woman. So they don't know it because where they are standing, it doesn't appear that way. But I can tell and could have told you when my partner's period is coming, going, or where in her cycle she is based on the things that matters to her and what she's actually doing. And so again, gender intelligence, if men would understand those cycles, what happens during those cycles, what can't happen during those cycles, they would understand things differently. And women would look at themselves differently and understand that men are actually, imagine when you look at all what I just said, and then you look at a man having 2 or 3 children with a woman who is going through those phases, and then we have all kind of hormone imbalances that could trigger different psychological issues for a woman after birth, childbirth.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at all of that a man has to deal with when still being a man, and in a world that is structured to ensure that his serotonin level is not where it's supposed to be, because men whose serotonin levels are high tend to live longer because they are more confident, less stressed, less cortisol. And so when a woman is diffusing a man, breaking him down when the world is already attacking him with the food, etc., that we are even the air, jobs, traffic, you name it, and he comes home where he should find peace and rebuild his testosterone level, he's broken there again. So in long story short, even when you look at what were the old school trends, so to speak, and the modern school trends, the issue I have with women is that, and let me make it very clear, I am not for men or women, but I will call it out. And you have spoken to me, Erica. I will call it out as I see it when it comes to the sex. And women are, the issue I have is that women want to hold on to everything of the old in their relationship, but remove it for the men in this relationship. So for instance, if she has to cook for a man, she doesn't understand, she doesn't know that there is a direct link between a man's stomach and his brain, or a woman for the matter of fact. So, and we have heard it all the time, but it's a fact. If your food is well, that man ain't going nowhere. All right? Mm-hmm. So that's why I have a problem when women say that all men cheat. No, if that's your mindset, it means that your value system needs to be reinforced and
recalibrated. I 100%, 100. If you feel that all men cheat, that truth lies within you. Understand? That's a you thing, not so much a them thing, because you also don't know all men and you've not yet encountered all men. So just jumped in with that.
Now cooking is more for a woman. And every time I hear a woman says, "What, are you a slave?" I say to myself, "You are a fool." Because, and I'm saying it as is, and I mean, I'm not trying to sugarcoat it, because every time a woman stands in that kitchen and she cooks, it benefits her, not the man. Because the process of cooking, do you realize most women, when they cook food, they don't really feel to eat? When eat the food that they cook, is because their oxytocin levels and estrogen levels are so high and charged. It's charging as she's cooking, because she knows she's preparing for her family. It's like when a tire is flat. If a man sits down in the car while his wife is changing the tire, his testosterone level will go right down to nothing, and hers will go up. So women still want men to change the car tire. Every single time the car tire is flat, she wants him to change it. She never expects him not to. However, she doesn't expect to cook. That's so the rule for women shouldn't exist still. It's modern times. Now,
that's what I said.
Now, you women decide to, when men came back, not to give up working. I'm not against women working, but we must understand, and I heard this reinforced up to today, we must understand, if you double the workforce, what happens is you would also cut the value of the work or the job in half. So women today say that if they don't work, the house don't have enough income. But if women weren't forcing to work, and I'm using the word forcing because if you look at what's happening in Scandinavia or Norway or Switzerland or India, you realize that the opposite is actually happening. Those countries, 3 of the 4 I call, are pushing women to work and pushing that open society. And women are now, because they have the freedom to choose, are now not choosing to work. And if they are, they still want to do nursing and teaching. And women are not choosing STEM fields. So they are not trying to follow maths or economics or engineering or technology, IT and these things. Women are not choosing those topics. Those courses in college, they're not choosing them. So the point is, the feminist societies, most women really don't want that, but they're pushing an agenda to hurt women. And so women must understand that if you want to keep your man and keep your man happy and be happy in the process, you have to move away from what you have thought and what you actually feel, because some women's feminine side is so turned off that they don't know how to be female anymore. Listen, most women of today who say they're strong, every time a woman says she's strong and independent, it tells me she's weak, because if she was, she wouldn't say that. Most women, the more a woman moves away from being feminine, she's becoming, you could either be one of 2 things. Even in a gay couple, you see a masculine and feminine personality. And my point is, if you're being defeminized, if you're removing your feminine side, and then what are you picking up? You're not going to just be nothing. If you are not as feminine as you were, it means that you are now becoming more masculine. And what's going to happen is that man is no longer going to want you, because has now started to be with a man, and he's going to leave you and find a young girl, and you're going to say he leave you because you get old and fat. But no, a younger girl is not as masculine as an older woman. A 25-year-old girl is not very masculine. But a woman who is in her career over time changes and evolves in that 10-year period.
Interesting. Well, some stuff that you said that I do want to touch on. Hey, Gordo. Women need to be seen in 2 places. Where are they, Mark? I'm waiting for you to type. So one thing you mentioned, my own personal pet peeve. Really have an issue with this. Always have had an issue with this. It is something I personally do not understand. And if there are any women out there that have a good explanation for me, type away, send me a voice note. That thing where you look at a grown man and tell him to sleep on the couch in his house, I never understood that. If you are so vexed that you don't want to sleep beside him, I would think you take yourself to the couch. Another thing that I have, that a pet peeve, it's very personal, is about being told to leave someplace that you live. I have children. I have a teenager, him and I get into roles, and he knows that it is my like telling you to leave your own house. This means it has to be done. Like, people are getting divorced. I've had boyfriends in the past. We were at my house, not our place, my place. And we've gotten into like an argument, and I've walked out of the room and I've gone somewhere else. And he said to me, so do you want me to leave? I said, if I wanted you to leave, I would have asked you to leave. I just don't want to talk to you right now. When I'm in a better state of mind, I'm going to come back and we're going to talk. I don't want to fight. So I'm out here, and do you want to watch TV? I could go someplace else. And he was really surprised, because to me, that's a big disrespect. If I tell you get out, it's a wrap, eh? When I say get out, that's the last time. You're not coming back. So that whole go sleep on the couch, you got to sleep in the basement thing. I've never been married, so maybe there's an element to it that I just simply don't understand, but I don't get that. Now, again, you spoke about ego. And you and I, and that's what's, again, interesting, and why I'm doing these live with Ren, because I say one thing, he says the other, and then upon analysis, I realize we're saying the same thing, using different language, because I'm a woman, he's a man. And so hoping to bring thought to you, a message to you. Nobody's trying to convert you, but we're telling you what we think. Ren's telling you what he's researched, what I've researched, and you use your life experience to come to your own conclusions. But the ego thing, and Ren just spoke about it, and it's the same thing I said before he started. This idea that you have to change the tires, you got to mow the lawn, you got to do things that are manly, and then when anything is described as womanly, people throw up dukes. They're ready to fight. And exactly that, as you said, I believe, and when I first started hearing this conversation on feminism, and I told you I'm big on looking up words, right? That's what I do. And when you look up the word feminist, what you see is a definition that says something to the effect of wanting the same rights for men and women. But the feminist movement is a very different one. And perhaps in a separate video, I will speak about the feminist movement and the initial idea of feminism. They are not the same. And one of the things that I've learned, and at first, again, not understanding, truly not understanding, but when I don't understand something, instead of turning away from it, I often will study it so that maybe I could understand. And when I declare it bupkis, it's because it's coming from a place of knowledge. And I remember being told that Black feminism, Black females, their feminism is completely different than the feminist movement, because it's not even the same things that we are fighting for. And I believe, and I think of my mindset growing up and how I thought, and it was very much affected by this movement, that everything is equal. I can do what you can do. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. That's too old fashioned. I can stand on my own, things like that. But one thing that Ren said that I agree with, and hear me out with that strong woman. I've never declared myself a strong woman. You will see, if you follow me on social media, you will see that I am constantly saying, please keep that compliment. I'm always amazed and startled when people, sometimes they don't even speak to me. I could tell you're a strong woman. How? What did I do? I'm just standing here. You know, oh, you're a strong woman. And as I said, I've never taken it as a compliment, which it is, and I do now, but it is not something I will self-declare. Just like I had once made a post saying, I don't need a man is the war cry of the wounded. And what surprised me is how much positive commentary I got on that, and from women. When a woman loudly is screaming at everybody who can hear her that she don't need no man, believe me, you are looking at a wounded woman. A friend of mine, very smart lady, shout out to Tara, she immediately commented on the post, and she's like, well, you know, it could really be that she doesn't need anybody, this, that, you know, da, da. And I said to her, I'm like, Tara, have you ever out loud to someone randomly said, I don't need a man? And she was like, no. I said, exactly. Unless it's a question that's posed or a conversation that comes up, you're not quick to run in with that. That's not your first statement. There's a lot of, we are hurt. Men are hurt, women are hurt. There's a lot of hurt. But a lot of the things that Ren speaks to, like men being men, I have this concept of what a man is in my head and in my heart. And more what I'm seeing is this very soft, pliable, non-convincing, with no conviction male character who's very wishy-washy. I am not indecisive. All my indecisiveness happens in my head. But when I make a decision, it's made. I would need somebody like myself in that, but would be nice is even stronger in that capacity. Ren and I had a conversation. When a man says, okay, well, we're going to go eat, what you want to eat? I am the chick that will tell you, I want XYZ with this for an entree. I'm going to drink that. I'm going to get this on the side. Yeah. I know almost always what I want to eat. But when I don't, when you say, what do you want to eat? And I say, I don't know, you decide. We'll go wherever. And then you're like, no, but where do you want to go? Like Ren said, you handed me back the ball. I don't want the ball. You take the ball. You make a decision and we'll do that. Because you asked and I told you, you decide. And until Ren and I were discussing this, I never understood why it irritated me so much when I would end up in a back and forth with a guy over what to eat. I know what I want to eat when I know. When I don't know, I don't know. So you figure it out. And I really am putting it in your hands. So when a woman, especially a woman who is strong and is decisive, says, here, I'm going to put you in charge, you have to rise to the occasion, or she's going to be like, yeah, next. And she's going to go off, because I know that's what has happened for me. If you are not one in charge of yourself, that's the first thing. A man that is confident, a man that is secure within himself, within his peer group, and then can approach me with confidence. Now, you don't always know it's going to work, but you pitched your pitch, right? And because I'm receptive to you, then we'll go. But what I'm seeing a lot now is it's like this back and forth where men want you to court them. Men want you to do half of everything. You know, I'm not changing a tire, eh? When I get a husband, I'm going to drive my car. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to look at him and say, is it good to go? And he's going to say yes, and then I'm going to go. I don't even care how it functions anymore. I used to be the woman who wanted to know how everything worked so I can do it myself. I'm no longer interested in doing it all myself, because all it does is dilute my power. That's what I realize. There are things that I'm very, very good at, and I'm very good at those, and I'm very good at surviving, and now we're going to move into thriving. So I want to say that stroking his ego is absolutely worth it, because you know what, in that masculine way, I want him to stroke mine, make me feel like I'm, you know, beautiful and desirable and the apple of his eye. And I feel that he should be the same. So when you were talking now about men going out into the world and, you know, they're fighting all these things. And like you said, when women go out into the world, they fight all those same things, and sometimes probably some extra stuff. There's this saying, and there's so many memes, and they talk about, oh, you have to be his peace, you know, be his peace. And women are like, to hell, I'm gonna be his peace. You know, I'm a da da da. And it's interesting because that's kind of what you said. You should be his peace. And a lot of women are like, well, you know, what about my peace? What about this? What about that? And again, I go back to what I said about giving all of these things to the undeserving. Because when you are his peace, it is because he has brought you peace. You are secure. You are cared for, respected, protected, and he gives you affection. So what you do now is you create this environment where he feels at home. When you do something well, it looks effortless. That's something you have to remember. And Swansea, you're going back to your question about what if he knows that I like a clean house. You see, what happens is that when you are very good at something, it doesn't look like you've tried very hard. So when you keep a clean house, a good house, he just comes home to a clean house. You really think he thinks about all of the things that it took for it to look like that? It's like when I clean out cupboards. You know, they leave in the morning, the house looks one way. I pull everything out of the closet. It looks like chaos. I organize everything, throw things out. When you get back, the house looks exactly like it did before, although you don't know that everything in that closet is organized. We're magic. That's the thing, is that we create magic. So when you do your magical little thing, he doesn't realize all the details and the effort that goes behind it, but it is appreciated, and you'll get more. That's why you can say, honey, I'm in winners. Send me money.
You see that topic you're talking, that topic you're talking right there.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say this to let people know something. So it will cause those who are looking on to think very carefully every single time they're doing something. A man is a filing cabinet. Now, I said that earlier, and I don't think people will get it, so let me break it down.
Mm-hmm.
If you are taking for a filing cabinet, you would list it from A to Z.
Right.
And if you want to find somewhere where, like, let's say W, you will be looking down at the lower drawer. You have to open that drawer and then look for the second letter after the W, maybe A, W, A, W, C. And you have to pull the drawer and pick up that file, take it out, open the file, and then maybe transfer it to maybe B.
Mm-hmm.
So to transfer it to B, you need to take it and open drawer B, take out the old folder, put it into the new folder, put it back inside, and close the drawer. That is how a man's brain works. We are single dimensional because we are supposed to be on our purpose, right?
Right. Okay.
And a man uses the left side of his brain. So I don't want to get too deep into how the brain elements, but a man uses the left side of his brain predominantly. And the parts of his brain that he uses is going to be is larger, right? A woman uses the right side of her brain, and the elements that she uses in the right side of her brain are larger. However, a woman uses both sides of her brain, while a man will only use one side of his brain at a time. Right?
Are you saying we're
So
smarter
only
men?
no, from an intelligence vantage point, there is no evidence to say any sex is smarter. But
You won't even give it to
what
me,
it,
You see? You won't even give me that.
no,
Look.
but in other words, if both parties have to do a project, they will get the same results, but totally different. So a man in a job, for example, gets a project and he wants to do it by himself and get it done as fast as possible. A woman would want to include a team and find out how everybody else is feeling about certain things, inclusive, because she's nurturing, right? So if a man and a woman is sitting down in a meeting, this man is going to understand from a strategic level and the meeting elements. And based on what is said, he's going to come out of that meeting probably saying the meeting was great because he heard what he needed to, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if a woman is there with him, let's say the man is the chairman and the woman is the CEO, and a woman is in that meeting as well, she is more likely to come out of that meeting and say, I don't think that meeting went well. And he is going to be like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And it's because she looked at his armpits. She looked at his posture. She looked at his eyes, his feet, his hand, the way he sat on the chair, how much he moved, how much eye contact he made. She looked at those things.
Mm-hmm.
He looked at what he was hearing. So because she can look at logic and emotions more than logic, but she can use both at the same time, he's using logic. So she's hearing what he's been saying, but she's looking, her brain is more tuned into what he's doing. That is why when a man walks up to a woman, come on, Erica, you know it, in the first 6-7 seconds, you could almost determine at that point if he's going to just buy you a drink, you're not going to talk to him, or if he's going to have sex with him. A woman could really make that decision in 7 seconds. Now,
yeah, if I'm gonna talk to him, yeah, I know right away.
Yeah, so the point I'm making is because in 7 seconds she looked at his and she came up to his head because she sees his face already. So the next place she's going to look at is his feet, and then everything else. Now, I'm saying that to say she already can feel his energy, so she can tell how much testosterone he has in his system. She can look at his confidence level and she can feel vibrations come out of him. So that's a signal that she can't control those things. So if the guy comes with the right energy and right vibration and the right testosterone levels, there's nothing she can do to reject him. Unless he hits her. It's going to snap her out of the hormone is in her blood. So the reason I said all of this is to indicate to women, when she is looking at the house being clean and etc., his mind is still probably on work or a bad drive that he got. He sometimes can come in that house and almost not even recognize she's standing there. He can walk past her, go upstairs and call out for her and not know he just passed her downstairs sitting down on a chair. That's how bad it is for men because they are locked in. When we are locked into something, you know? So I just wanted to make sure that women understand that men and women look at things differently. Two people walk in a room, one is picking up on the feeling of the chairs, if it's plastic, if it's leather, if it's cloth, if it's clean or dirty. the smell of the room. She's picking up on those things. You know what the man is looking at? The size of the room and the exit doors. That's all he's looking at. And where people are sitting down, especially men, because men are territorial. So a man will go into a party or event and he will look for where every man is, and he's going to analyze who are the alphas and who are the betas to see where the challenge is going to come from, if any, and all of these things. Instead, a woman is looking at the clothing, the shoes, the lighting of the event, where in the party she's tying up, and all those things. So you see why a couple should work if they work together. But when she moves away from being that female aspect of who she is and cling more to the masculine aspect of who she is, he's now feeling like if he's talking and dealing with another him. It's like what I told you yesterday with the cat and the dog. See?
Okay. Ren says a lot of funny things. It's because I have the sense of humor to take them. Maybe not everybody would find them funny. I don't even know if we should go there, Ren, but what are we? Oh man, we're at 90 minutes. So I'm still laughing about yesterday. So today we got quite a bit covered. We obviously have far to go, but today we got to speak a little bit about what men are looking for. I said men want respect. Ren says they want compliance. I say women want security. Ren says they want investment. Sounds pretty similar to me. I do agree that there's a systematic desire to, I don't know if emasculate's too strong of a word, but to shut down men's egos and to bow to them. And I had an exchange with a lady today who told me that, but why would you want to, what was it? Why would you want a man? Oh, I'd have to look up her words. But basically, why would you cater to his ego? And my question was, why not? If you know, men say it. I've said sarcastically so many times, oh, men are so much ego. And there's been a man that's been sitting there going, yeah, like, what don't you get? Yes, we are ego. And so knowing this, if you have a good and deserving man, why not cater to his ego? Just as I want him to cater to mine. I like flowers. I love flowers. Flowers are impractical, and I'm a very practical person. But that is one extremely impractical thing I like, which is flowers. You buy them for me, and they will be dead within 2 weeks. I'm very good at keeping them, though. I could drag out the life. Point being, a logical man could look at it and be like, well, I'll get you something else. I'll get you a purse, or I'll get you a figurine. No, I want flowers. And I want you to get me flowers. So just as that does something for me looking at you and saying, honey, you know what? That was amazing. What a great job. The lawn looks great. And your chest gets bigger and you puff up. Chances are I'm going to get some good stuff later tonight because you feel good about yourself. And you're going to go out tomorrow and you're going to work even harder so you could buy more fertilizer to make the lawn even prettier because I just like a green lawn. So these are the little things that I know for myself personally, for so much of my life, it's been fisticuffs. We are equal. I could do it too. And maybe life has really worn me down a bit, but I don't want to do it all anymore because this is not how it was meant to be. And very interestingly, and Ren and I will wrap up, I'll let him say a few words to close out. Very interestingly, what has happened as I have stopped trying to do everything, being honest in needing help, being honest in honestly being vulnerable, not crying, not having a pity party. I mean, anyone who knows me knows that's just not who I am. It is not who I am, but I am a human and I do need help and I do have issues. And I found that the more I've shifted towards that side is actually, and this is probably the one time you'll hear me say it, is the stronger I've become in who I am. So there's a lot of value in femininity. And I think that the message has been for so long that there wasn't, that it was a weakness and we should move away from all of the things that make us that way. And we need to be on par with men and we got to get in the trenches with them. Hell no. I don't like to shovel. I'm not going under the car. There's so many things that I am truly not interested in doing. I don't want to do. And because I am conscious of that and I'm aware of that, I can understand that there are things that he doesn't want to do. And I think that's something we really need to take into account. So we need to stop just cherry picking the most cool parts of modern relationships and the most cool parts of traditional relationships and patching together this thing that completely doesn't work for the other person, because that's kind of what you're going to get back. So that's my take from tonight. Ren, what would you say in summary?
I would say I want to just touch on three things. First thing is, if we look at the by the way, who would you say is the most attractive actor, male actor now, Erica?
The most attractive male actor? You know what? I like Denzel now. I wasn't so keen on him when he was younger, but I like him now. Yeah, I like Denzel.
Okay. Because I was just going to make a point. I thought you were going to say Idris Elba. Because what has happened
Michael B. Jordan. Throw in Killmonger. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now, what I want to say is that if I were to look at the head and the neck, we can look at Michelle Obama and Barack, right? And this is why.
Absolutely.
Michelle tutored him. They met, Michelle tutored him, and I want women to understand this. Michelle is an attorney, and she would have probably been a very successful attorney because she is no fool. She would have been highly successful. But had Michelle Obama not decided to be the embodiment of what a woman and a strong woman actually is, we probably may not have heard of her ever. And she would have probably made a lot of money, be highly successful. And the point is, she decided to be a woman and allow him to lead. She understood what he wanted to do, and she decided to support him and put her basically her needs on the shelf, because it is in alignment with what she's doing, which is being an attorney, and she understood that maybe her role is to get him to where he needs to be. And what happened is, when she got him to be president, he got her to be first lady. And because she became first lady, I think she won the award this year for being the most influential woman. And the point I'm making is, they say that behind every powerful man or successful man is a good woman. And the point is, there are very few good women out there, who are fully embodying what women is. Because if any woman says she's strong, and you ask them, I would ask them two questions. And some people laugh when I say these things. I would ask her, what is the purpose of a woman? And look at how she would react as if she saw a deer in headlights, because she has never thought about that question, but she's a strong woman. Huh? And then ask her, who is she? And you'll see she's going to tell you her name. And you see that, I didn't ask you your name, I asked, who are you? And you'll see again, she doesn't know. And the point is, if ask those questions, and you will see very quickly, if you're a guy, you could evaluate women very quickly and just know, well, no matter how good you look, you don't really worth much. Your value system is totally out. You need to go and come again, basically. The problem is, men don't value themselves. As far as I'm concerned, I'm worth $5 billion. And so, if I think about it, if I walk up to the prettiest, now I'm not ashamed or afraid to walk up to any woman and give them a suitcase or a briefcase with $5 billion in it, right? Because I will walk up to any woman and say, do you want $5 billion? And if she says no, I will laugh in my mind and say, you ought to be a fool because you just took away $5 billion. And so that's how I view myself. And if men would put some kind of value to who they are, the problems that they have and what women do and say and act is not going to happen. So when a woman turns me down, I laugh at them. I say to myself, you have just lost a lot of valuable worth by turning me down. Okay, I'm more sad for her than I am hurt for me. Right?
Amen.
And so once you understand
yourself,
when we understand the Michelle Obama's situation, we get to understand the head and the neck. Barack could not have done it, or he could not have been as good a president as he was without Michelle. But I've never heard Michelle in anywhere, and the media really tried to emasculate Barack in any angle, form, or fashion. I've never heard even a statement that did that.
Not a look, not a glance, not a nothing.
Now,
Aren, I know
the last thing I want.
You had 2 points. Yeah, go ahead. You had your last point. Value. Yeah, go ahead.
The last thing I want to tell guys is that, guys, you're hurting yourself. Because what a woman actually really needs is a man who can, if he wants to, take off a man's neck with one slash of a sword, but doesn't have to. And she basically wants a man who is not afraid, who can lead, who is totally alpha, knows his worth and his strength. And this is not about height, but is able to stand even when there's a storm coming and put his family behind his back. And there are little things men don't do. Like, for example, what I make sure and do now if I'm going somewhere with someone I'm dating, I am driving the car. There are little things that us men do that affects our testosterone. You can't go out with your woman unless you are dead tired and have her driving. She's not supposed to. This is your queen. That's your prize. You must drive that car. Right?
Car.
The other thing is,
I'm with you. Pick me
we
up.
tend to wait on.
Come and get me.
Yeah, we tend to wait until some special occasion to buy 12 roses for her and send it. Now, if we just choose 12 normal days in a year and send a single rose for her on that day and say just because, it's going to be so much more valuable than her expecting a Valentine's present every year. If you're going to keep that woman, especially if you know what time in a period to send that rose or roses, you're going to always keep her. Even though she knows it, she can't do anything about it. She has to react to what you're actually doing. That's polarity right there. Men, we are not doing little things like that. We are not. And then tonight, I can't remember the person's name, but they said that they want to have a partner. And this is a whole other topic, but I'm going to say it. They want to have a partner that they can pour their heart out to, be vulnerable with, be their best friend, something, whatever it was. And my response was, it's impossible. Listen, guys must understand this, and this might be controversial, but it's a fact. A woman must always be a man's or her man's best friend. But a man must never be hers. If a woman must come to her man and purge and let him know all the issues she has. And if she needs help, let him ask her, do you need me to help you? If not, just listen. But a man must always tell his problems and sit down and rationalize his issues with other men. It must never be with his partner. He must come home after he has addressed his problems and sorted them out and know what direction he's going to go, and then tell her. Women want men to open up to them, and most women would say they want that. But the minute that man does open up to them, they lose attraction to them, and they feel guilty because it's what they wanted and he did it. And when he did it, you lost the attraction when? Because what you want to know really and truly is not what's going on with him. Women are concerned about two things: how you feel about them and how you feel about who you are. You see? Not how you actually feel. Women don't need to know that because you're supposed to be able to penetrate the world. Women care about how you feel about them. In other words, where they fall in your life and how you feel about you, because two things are the pillars. So anytime one of those two aren't in place,
I agree. I know there's...
it weakens. He weakens to her. That's my comment.
I don't know if I'm breaking up for you. You're breaking up for me, but I agree. At first, when you said that, because you've said that before in some conversation where you said that a man's not supposed to confide like that in his woman, and I was like, what? What kind of madness? I want my man to tell me things, blah blah blah. But as I had told someone, I actually told a man recently, it's like when you're in that many decisions, like there's lots of variables, right? You could do this or that or that or this or this or that. I don't want to hear about it. When you get yourself down to like two choices and you want the input of someone who it will impact, I'm all for it. It's just like, I've had tell me, you're very decisive. I'm not used to that in a woman. And apparently my sign Libra is very indecisive. It's not that I'm as decisive as you think, but I do most of it in my head. I have this whole discussion where, I could do this or that or this or that. And then when I may be down to two, I'm like, you know what, should I do red or blue? But I had about 6, 7, 12 choices before. And as I explained to this man, I said, when presented with your confusion, it makes me feel confused. And I don't want you to make me feel confused. And that's what you're doing. Like, there's enough confusion in my life that the last place I want confusion to come from is you. What do you do? What am I supposed to do with that? And I don't want to figure it out. Again, and as I said, been a single mom for a while. I make a lot of decisions. I don't want to keep making all the decisions. And as some wonderful women I've been having discussions with recently, we've talked about it. And we're like, look, dude, if you know what you're doing, I'll follow. No problem. You lead, I'll follow. I'm A-okay with that. As long as you know what you're doing. It's just that nowadays you have a lot of idiot men that want you to follow them, and they're not going anywhere. And they want you to submit. What am I submitting to? I left the house to get on the bus, to take the bus to work, and left you my car. And you sat here all day. There's nothing to submit to. So I feel that when women do that, that's when the resentment builds up, because it isn't right. You're absolutely right. It is actually insane to keep bringing a man a plate of food who does nothing. You do these things, they're very inflammatory. You were like, well, a man is only loved as long as he's useful. And I was like, no, that's not right. You just love him. And it's not to say that love, I mean, your husband becomes a paraplegic by, God forbid, or whatever. It's not to say that love doesn't get through things. But if that's your default, no, it's not going to work. So again, I just find that the more I listen and I rationalize, and maybe I will use totally different words from Ren, but I agree on many points, not on all of them, but on many of them, because when I break it down, I realize that we are saying the same thing, but women speak differently from men. And that's why we're here teaming up, because I'm hoping that what he says will get through to you. What I say will get through to you. And when I say get through to you, I mean give you food for thought, because we're not here to tell you what to think. We just want you to really think about the situations. And, my mission is to see kind of a reconnection between the sexes, a reconnection between men and women, where they can understand something. And something Ren said earlier that I think is really important. We've tried to boil everybody down to one thing, and we don't think the same, and we are all different. And I think we're just trying to put everybody in the same uniform, and it's not working. And Ren and I will be back. I mean, one of the topics, one day we were talking in Messenger, and I'm like, okay, well, what kind of topics do you want to talk about? And this man live said to me, I want to talk about women in different parts of their menstrual cycle. I said, well, damn, he's just going all in. There's no stopping him. So we will actually be back with that one day soon. But Ren, I want to thank you again, because I can see that so much of what you say, I mean, is thoughtful and researched and coming from a place of you know, learning about it to understand. And I appreciate you sharing with us. You have a unique way of sharing, and I appreciate that too. And I look forward to next Friday. Ren and I are going to figure out what it is we're going to come back with. And we want your suggestions. Like, you could drop him or myself a message, or you can leave the comment here on this live, what you'd like to hear about us discuss. If you have questions, leave them, especially for Ren. Ren does lives regularly, almost daily, right, Ren? Like, you do videos?
3 or 4 times a week.
Okay, 3-4 times a week.
3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah, so if you drop him a line or you leave a message here, we're gonna, after this live, we're gonna go through all the comments and answer any questions or anything that we can do. But, you know, drop him a line. And if you are questioning some of his views or where he got some of this information from, he's very, very open in that way, that he loves an interaction. He loves a discussion. And so I have to say thank you. Thank you again, Ren. It's always a pleasure, and I look forward to doing this again next Friday. And yeah,
No problem.
thank you. Thank you so much. So guys, thank you for joining us. Thank you for all of the people here that were participating. Kevin, Swansea, Brian, Mark. I know I'm missing some names because I can't see everything now. And you guys know, I know you see me squint. But I thank you guys for joining us. And we will be back next Friday. And I'm on every Tuesday on Toronto Caribbean Network with What Matters. So thank you again. And Ren and I will be back with another live next Friday. So I'll see you Friday, Ren.
Bye.
Bye.